Dear learners, how are you all? I think all of you are well by the grace of Almighty Allah. Welcome you all in our today's online class. Here I am Laila Arjuman, lecturer in English, Milestone College. Today I am here to discuss an important topic, that is right form of verb. Dear learners, you know that it is a very important topic. Without verb, we cannot express a single sentence. So, it is our duty to know how we can use a right form of verb in a sentence. So, let's have a look on the board. Dear learners, now I will show you some important form of verb that you can see all times in the passage. The form of the verb is to be verb, to have verb, to do verb and the modal auxiliary. The to be verb or be verbs are am, is, are, was or were. And to have verbs are have, has, had. To do verbs are do, does, did. Modal auxiliaries are can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, ought to, going to, have to, etc. These types of verb we can see in the passage. When we want to write a correct sentence, you need to know these types of verb. So, next I will show you some important forms of verb. Now, I will show you some important forms of main verb. Here, I wrote 5 types of verb. First one, present form, then past form, past participle form, present participle form and infinitive. Here, present form, I wrote here, speak or speaks. Here I take a verb as example, that is speak. If you see, the subject is first person and second person, that times you can use the main form or base form of the verb. And if you see, the subject is third person singular number, that times you need to add s or es with the main verb. We call the present form is V1. Then number 2, if the passage indicates past tense, that times you need to add or you need to write the V2 form. That means spoke. V2 is the past form. Number 3, past participle form is spoken. That is called V3 form. Number 4, you can use present participle also in a passage. The form of the verb is verb plus ing. I wrote here speaking. Speak plus ing, that is speaking. It's called present participle form. Then number 5, infinitive. To plus main verb. I wrote here to speak. So these types of 5 main verb we can use to indicate a right form of verb. In a passage, we can use V1, V2, V3, present participle and infinitive. So, in my next session, I will show you how we can use it in a passage. Dear students, now I will show you some important rules of right form of verb. First one is generally, daily, regularly, always, sometimes, every day, usually, normally. If you see this type of word in the sentence, in that time you need to write present indefinite tense for the verb. Here I wrote an example, truth always reigns in the world. Here you see always in the sentence. This sentence indicates the universal truth or our habitual fact. Truth always reigns in the world. That means this is an universal truth and here I see always. If we see this type of word, that times you need to write present indefinite form of the verb. That is, rain is the base form. Here I use S or S here with the verb because truth is the subject and it is the third person singular number. That's why I wrote here rains. Truth always reigns in the world. Number 2, if you see now, at this moment, at present, nowadays, etc. in this sentence, that times you need to write present continuous tense. Here I wrote an example. At present, Bangladesh is facing some problems. Here, at present indicates the present situation that is continuously happening in our country. That's why we use here present continuous tense. And here I use is. And after is, I wrote here facing. Verb plus ing. Subject is Bangladesh. Bangladesh is third person singular number. That's why I use here is. And after is, I add here verb plus ing. This is the form of present continuous tense. So, next I will show another rules. Here, if you see just now, already, recently, ever, yet, lately, etc. These types of word in the sentence, in that time verb will be present perfect tense. That means have or has plus V3. If the subject is first person or second person, in that times you can write have plus V3. If the sentence subject is third person singular number, that means you have to write has plus V3. Here I wrote I, that means subject is first person, that's why I wrote here have seen him recently. Seen is the third form of the verb. V1 is see, V2 saw, and V3 is seen. Here I have seen him recently. If you say with a view to, look forward to, would you mind, cannot help, couldn't help in the phrase, that then verb will be verb plus ing. That means I look forward to getting your reply. Here you see look forward in the sentence. That's why I wrote here ing with the main verb. Get plus ing, getting. That's why the sentence is I look forward to getting your reply. 5 number is long ago, once, wish, fancy, yesterday, it is time, it is high time, etc. If you see these types of word in the sentence, that times you need to write past form of the verb. Here I wrote the example, I fancy, I turned pale. V1 form is turned, but I wrote here turned. If you see fancy or wish in the sentence, that times you need to write V2 form of the verb. And here second sentence is it is high time we changed our bad habit. Here the meaning indicates present, but I wrote here past tense because if you see high time or it is high time, it is time in the sentence, that time after subject you need to write V2 form of the verb. Then number 6, if you see no sooner had ... then or hardly had ... when, scarcely had ... when, in that time the first verb will be V3 form, that means past participle form, and the second verb will be V2 form, that means past form. The example is hardly had he left the place when the fire broke out. Here hardly had, after hardly had, subject is he, and after subject I wrote here verb 3. That means the past participle form of the verb. Leave, left, left. And the second verb is when the fire broke out. Broke. This is the past form. Present form is break. And the third form is broken. Here I wrote the V2 form. So if we say hardly, scarcely or no sooner had in the sentence, that then first verb will be V3 form and the second verb will be V2 form. Students, if you see while in a sentence, that times after while you need to write subject plus was or were plus verb plus ing. That means you need to write past continuous tense. The example is, while he was walking in the garden, a snake bit him. So after while, you see the verb is past continuous tense and the second verb is only V2 form, that means past indefinite tense. After while, past continuous tense and the second verb is past tense. That means if you see while in a sentence, that means one verb will be past continuous and another verb past indefinite tense. If you see list in the verb, that times after subject, you need to add should plus V1. The example is, he ran fast, list, he should miss the bus. After list, you need to write should plus V1. That means should plus the main form of the verb. So, by this way, you need to write the correct form of verb to express a correct sentence. Next, I will show you how you can use the verb in a passage. Dear students, here I have selected a passage to show you how you can use the right form of verb. That means the correct form of verb. Before solving the passage, you need to read the whole passage carefully. If you don't read the passage carefully, you cannot understand what type of verb or what form of verb you need to use here. So this is your first duty, to read the whole passage carefully. So let's have a look on the board. Student life called a golden season of life. This be the time when we should prepare ourselves for future. The very habit formed in the student life that influence the later phase of life. In first sentence, student life called a golden season of life. Here the given verb is call and the subject is student life. Here it is a passive form, that's why we need to write a helping verb first. This is a third person singular number, that's why I wrote here is, and then in passive form we need to write V3 form after the auxiliary verb. So V3 form is call, called. So verb is called. Student life is called a golden season of life. The next sentence is, this be the time when we should prepare ourselves for future. Here in the first, from the beginning of the lecture, I told you V verb is am, is, are, was, were. Here this is a present tense and the passage indicates present situation, that's why we need to write here present form. And the subject is this, that's why the verb will be is. This is the time when we should. After modal auxiliary verb. Modal auxiliary verbs are can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, ought to, have to, has to. These are the modal auxiliary verb. After modal auxiliary verb, you need to write the present form of the verb. So here I wrote prepare. So the sentence is, when we should prepare ourselves for future. This is the time when we should prepare ourselves for the future. The next sentence is, the very habits formed in the student's life. Here I wrote formed. When we see two verbs in a sentence, that times one verb will be participle, present participle or past participle, and the second verb will be the main verb. So the first sentence is, the very habits formed in the student's life influence the later phase of life. So by this way we can prepare or we can solve the passage by using right form of verb. Dear learners, that's all for today. If you face any problem in my lecture, you can share your feelings with me. you can talk to me in any times. So that's all for today. Take care of your health, practice more, be safe, stay home, and read more and more. Be attentive, you listen, my dear learners. Thanks all for today. Bye bye.